Hi everyone, so it looks like we're nearly there, just under 2 weeks, and hopefully we should all be able to see each other again, which will be lovely. In the meantime, I'm going to kick off by going through the Socrator question from yesterday, which was done pretty well by most of you. Some of you got a little stuck, so have a look at my solution as I go through it now and see what you make of that, and then we're going to plow on with a nice easy topic of scatter diagrams, but it's an important one to make sure you have a go at, because it's the easy marks that we've got to make sure we totally get all of them to really boost us up, because if we can get those easy marks, then before you know it, you've got enough marks for your grade 5 or 6, and then it's just about accumulating enough for your 7s, 8s and 9s. Right, let's crack on. So here's question 11, the one I asked you to do, and a few of you weren't quite sure where to get started on this. Others did a great job, and I think it's probably just a case of getting started for those of you who didn't. You've got one big triangle, but you've got two right angle triangles. We want to know angle BCD, so if I put a little X on that angle first of all, but I can't work that out yet. In order to work it out, I would need to know two of the sides of this triangle. Now we already know the whole of this length, and this height here is a shared height with the other right angled triangle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to color code it and do this part here in pink. I'm going to call Y that bit there, and then once I know Y, I will then know that I can do 22 take whatever Y is to give me that length, and I can then use that for that. But if you are stuck, as soon as you can see that it's a trigonometry question, first thing to do is just to write down Socrator and label the sides, because it just gives you something to do whilst you're trying to work out what's going on. So I know that's the hypotenuse, opposite the named angle is there, and the adjacent is there. Now I don't know the hypotenuse, and I don't want to know the hypotenuse. I want to know the adjacent, and I know the opposite. So opposite and adjacent is TOA, and that was good. You were, all of you who were trying to do this, you did find TOA, apart from those of you who used the sine rule. Some of you used the sine rule successfully, some of you got a little bit stuck in it. Either way, I'm just going to go through the Socrator way this way, but if the sine rule is working for you, keep on doing that. So anyway, this is going to be tan 37 equals the opposite being 9 over Y being my unknown length. Now where so one or two of you did go a bit wrong here was then saying that Y was going to be 9 times tan 37. It's a two-stage rearranging process to make Y the subject of the formula. Multiply by Y and we get Y tan 37 equals 9, and then divide by tan 37 gives you Y equals 9 over tan 37. Some of you will be used to, and you may have done it in science, whenever you've got something equaling something over it, you can swap those two values straight over. So you may have just done that in one go, which is absolutely fine. Once you've done that, you just whack it into the calculator, remembering to put a close the brackets on the 37, and that gives you 11.9434. So the Y is 11.934. So that means that if I do 22 take answer, that gives me 10.057 to 3 decimal places would be more than enough to get the right answer in the final part for that length there. And now we are looking at this being the adjacent to go with that opposite, and it's going to be tan x, the angle, is going to equal the opposite 9 over 10.057. And then to work out the angle, that's when you do the inverse of tan. So x is going to be tan minus 1, 9 over 10.057. Pop that into the calculator and we get 41.8 degrees. Now one or two of you got 41.7, and I reckon that's probably because you used a value here that was only to one decimal place. I'm just going to try that now, just to, oh, I thought I was going to try it, hang on. And that gives us, whoa, yeah, that's given me 41.7. So those of you who got 41.7, it was because you rounded to one decimal place. The ones you were working with, always keep it a couple of degrees more accurate than you need it in the end when you're working through, because otherwise if you have things just not quite exact too early on, then the error gets magnified. Right, now for the rest of this I'm going to be going through some of these questions. I'm not going to go through all of them. What I have done though is uploaded the answers to these questions as well, and I would like you to have a go at the others as well. It shouldn't take very long because it's not that complicated, but it's well worth practicing and making sure you get them spot on and checking with the answers, because a lot of it is to do with being really careful, reading off a graph, but not just reading off a graph, showing how you've done it as well. So I'm going to go through, as I said, some of these, and then you can do the others and let me know if there's anything that doesn't make sense to you. So a scatter graph is out there to show correlation, and correlation means that as one thing, that the two things have some kind of an effect on each other, that when one tends to be big, so does the other. Or if it's a negative correlation, it means as one thing gets bigger, the other thing gets smaller. So if you're the better runner you are, the smaller the times that you will take. So that could give you a negative correlation here. In this case, good biologists tend to be good physicists. So although it's not everything lying in an exact line, there is kind of a strip going up like that all of the things lie in. The worst score at biology was the third worst score in physics, and the worst score in physics was the second worst score in biology. And at the top here you've got the people doing the best in one also doing the best in the other. We call that a positive correlation. If it's going up from left to right, it's positive. If it's going down from left to right, which is what you would get in a capital N, then that's negative. So that's how I like to remember that. Another student scored 52 marks on their biology test. Estimate the physics score for this student. Now they haven't asked you to draw a line of best fit. Sometimes they do, but if they ask you to use the graph to estimate, that you will not get both marks if you do not put a line of best fit in. Now the line of best fit should not go through the origin. Sometimes it does, but generally that's a bit of a mistake. This one goes pretty close to it though. What you want is about the same number of crosses top, above and below the line, but also for them to be as close to the line as possible. And maybe I could have had mine a tiny smidgen further up. It doesn't matter. There's a zone of that will be somewhere between that they would allow, so you don't have to worry about being too exact. So there's my line of best fit. Now I should have done that with a pencil, but so that you can see it clearly I'm going to use pen. 52 on the biology. Now looking carefully, there are only 5 divisions between each 10, so that means each one division is worth 2. Don't worry, that's not a persistent cough. So from 52 we're going to go up there until we hit the line, and now that I've hit that line I'm going to go across there. Now if you did yours beforehand you may have got it slightly different, and as long as you've read it correctly off the line of best fit, you've got it's okay. Now this has gone halfway between 60 and the next division up, the next division up being 62, so I'm going for 61. And the mark scheme actually accepts anything between 58 and 66, but with the proviso that that fits exactly with what it runs up from 52 to hit your line of best fit with. Right, question 2 next. Have a little look at this and see what you reckon. So teams that are scoring lots of goals aren't conceding very many, and that sort of makes sense, doesn't it? Because generally a good team is good at both scoring goals and stopping them from being conceded. Not totally like that. You do sometimes get some teams that just score loads of brilliant teams that score loads of goals and aren't too bothered about defence. They just concede slightly less because they have the ball so much. But still, you would get something looking a bit like this. Now the type of correlation that this is negative, because it's going down from left to right, as I said before, in line with a capital N. Next question, or part of it, another team has scored 44 goals. Estimate the number of goals this team has conceded. So pause the video, put your line of best fit in and see if you can measure it off. Now I'm reckoning this is going to go, I've got them either side, something like that. And having done that, I mean, I didn't count them beforehand, but I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 above the line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 below the line, but 3 of those are closer than any of the ones that are above it, so I'm quite happy with that. Now the team have scored 44 goals, so this time there's 10 squares between each one, so it's going to be 1 for each. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is there. So carefully take your ruler and draw a cross on the line and then vertically down, and that looks like it's hit at 41. And the mark scheme's giving a mark for anyone between 39 and 42, so we're all good there. I'd like you to have a crack at question 3 next, especially because it's got a bit about outliers and what they are. So give it a go and then see if you agree with me. Well, it's definitely going up from left to right, so you should have positive for 1 mark at the first bit. And then part B says one of the points is an outlier. Write down the coordinates for this point. So your line of best fit's basically going through here. The outlier is this little chappie, because he doesn't fit in with the rest of the results. And if you were dealing with real data, you often just dismiss a lot of the outliers because they don't correlate with everything else, and they may well be down to a mistaken measurement as much as anything else. In terms of ice cream sales on sunny days, it may be that although it was hot, it was raining or something, who knows. Anyway, so the coordinates of that point would be 22.5, exactly halfway along there, and 75. And the last bit, give that a go and then see if you agree with me. By the way, a little tip: if are forced to draw with pen, if you turn your ruler upside down, then the edge of the ruler isn't actually touching the paper, and if you're careful, then it's less likely that you're going to smudge the paper with your line. So I'm coming across there at 110, yeah, 10 for every 2, so it looks like it's just under 10. I'm going to go for £108. And the mark scheme says anything between 100 and 110 would be accepted. Right, let's have a look at question 5 next, because this is a bit different. We're looking for 2 things that are wrong with Wayne's answer, and it says he's plotted the points accurately. So pause the video and have a little think about this. It says that it's 10 football players, all that sort of stuff. You can read all that all you like. On this occasion, not that relevant. You're looking for 2 things that are wrong. Now, you may have remembered before that I said the line of best fit shouldn't go through the origin normally, and it shouldn't. The line of best fit has got the same number of crosses above and below, but it's not really going through where it should be. That line of best fit should be looking more like something like that. So one thing that's wrong with his answer that you could write down would be his line of best fit is positioned wrong. It's going through the origin or the point 2025 and shouldn't be. The other may take a little longer to watch out. If you look at along the bottom, this is going up in 20s, that's okay. But here, 25 to 35, that's a leap of 10. And then 5 and 5 and 5 and 5. So really, if it's going up, it should all be going up in 5s. That should be a 30 there, or else it should go 30, 35, 40. So if he has plotted it correctly, I don't know how he has, because, well, he must have worked out these squares as being different, but he's got an inconsistent y-axis. That'd be the best way of saying that. But as long as you've said something about him labelling the numbers on the y-axis and one of these 2 values definitely being wrong, then that would do it. And now finally, pause the video and have a crack at this one. So the type of correlation should be positive. Estimating the ice cream sales, well, first of all, draw your line of best fit and estimate from it. You should get something like this. So notice I made a little mark there. It's 4 squares along because it's 2 squares for each 1 degree along the bottom, and it's 2 squares for each £10. And notice I actually made a little mark every 2 up to make sure I got that bit right. So I had £135. The mark scheme accepts anything between 125 and 145, providing it fits with your line of best fit. And the final part, the shop manager wants to use the scatter graph to predict the ice cream sales for a day with an average temperature of 2 degrees. Comment on the reliability of this prediction. Well, 2 degrees would be right down here, and the coldest day we've got any data for is 6.5 degrees. So it's unreliable because we have no data for weather this cold, and that's called extrapolating when you take it down. So, and that's fine for something where things are totally locked in. So if you had a graph that wasn't a scatter graph but was a conversion graph of, I don't know, pounds into euros or something, that is going to stay the same. It would be totally on it. But for something of correlation, you get certain points after which these bits of data just don't happen, or strange things happen, like you get an elastic limit in science when you're measuring the elasticity of a spring or something, a point at which the metal won't carry on to stretch in the same way. Anyway, I've nattered on for long enough. Have a go at the couple of questions that we didn't do as well today, and then we will crack on with something else on Wednesday. Not sure what yet. We will find out. It'll be exciting. Cheerio.